What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the On Purpose podcast, where we come to you from an exciting location, and that is the cul-de-sac in Cheyenne, Wyoming, as we travel north from having spent winter in Mexico to the Black Hills of Wyoming, where we'll hang out for the summer doing our off-grid living. We got to stop in Cheyenne, get some repairs done to the vehicles, visit Andrea's mom, and just it's kind of nice to reset with unlimited electricity and water and kind of have just a little peace of mind, a little bit of just ease of mind, I guess, that you don't have to think so much. But it doesn't stop us from doing what we do. And, that is bringing you purposeful content each and every week, which is really our jam. It's what we feel good doing, and giving you and sharing with you stories of people that we're feeling blessed to meet, and hopefully it's inspiring you to really live that purposeful life and make sure that we're not on autopilot through the moments as they pass us by, but we're really enjoying them. We're staying present, and we are making the most of our time here, right? So this week I'm excited to introduce you to Samantha Kozuch, who's a multifaceted entrepreneur known for her work in personal development and wellness. She's the creator of the Manuscripting Journal, a tool designed to help individuals manifest their goals and desires through a structured 90-day ritual. Her method combines journaling, goal setting, visualization, and mindfulness practice to empower users to create positive changes for their lives. One of the things I love about Samantha is that her approach, personal growth and success, is rooted in the authenticity and the belief that we all have the power to shape our reality. So I hope you enjoy this week's interview with Samantha, and please get over to YouTube or wherever it is. Actually, do both. Do YouTube and your favorite podcast app. Like, subscribe, and help us continue to reach people around the world, brightening their days just a little bit, maybe putting a smile on their face by sharing purposeful content. Enjoy this week's episode. Samantha, my newest friend, welcome to the On Purpose podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me.
So good. A double so good. I really like that. What's so good about today?
Oh my gosh, every day above ground, I feel like it's
Mm.
a beautiful day to be celebrated. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but just life be lifing and everything's doing really well over here in flow with business, health, life, all the things. So I'm just happy about all of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, you're right. Like life is pretty short to not really get a enjoyment out of this ride.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on and letting us share your story with the world. I'm excited to talk about the manuscripting journal. I'm a big believer in manifestation and creating the life we want. And there's something else you said that I really hit home with me, and that is that we all have the power to shape our own reality,
Mhm.
right? Like through our actions, our beliefs, what we're willing to do. So I really want to explore that, what I'd consider like self-ownership of our lives, instead of kind of being a passive participant in life to being really active in creating it.
Yeah, so wait, your question for me is
No, I had no question. I was simply rambling to get us started.
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more as far as just with that statement alone. Like I regurgitate it almost daily if it's talking to someone or to my community or something like that. Is That's why I'm sitting here telling you right now, like my life is so good because I've created it in a
Mm,
way to feel that way. And I think I learned that, almost probably like a decade ago when I had like my personal like rock bottom, when I kind of woke up to the fact that's like, hey, like you are literally the creator of your reality. And prior to that, I was just kind of like living, like you're just kind of like reacting to life or being told what to do by society, whether it's like your
mm,
parents or your teachers or government or this, those all those external factors, right? And then when you finally wake up to the fact like, hey, you take this radical responsibility of I'm the creator of my reality. Like I get to determine how I feel every day, what I do every day, how I show up every day. It's such a beautiful and powerful place to be in, because then you would literally
Yeah.
control your reality versus living in this reactive state, where I feel like when you're constantly in the reactive state, you're not able to pursue much of your own goals and passions and the things that fulfill you. So it becomes very, very draining.
Mm. See, that was a way better question for yourself than what I gave you. All right, now I know you're on your fitness journey. I saw you working out on Instagram. So this is kind of like a mental workout. So before we get started, I got to warm you up. I can't just jump into these rock bottom moments. Are you ready, Samantha, for your warm up questions?
Yes, I'm ready. Hit me
All
with
right.
it.
These I promise will be legitimate questions, not just me rambling. All right, here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
What kind of coffee do you drink?
So fun story behind this, because a couple years ago, I completely quit coffee and caffeine for about a year. It was part of like a little health thing that I was doing. And I was just kind of like, not necessarily detoxing, but I was just removing things, adding things in, trying to tap back into like my body in a more natural way. And then after that year was over, I kind of like did my hypothesis of, oh, was removing caffeine like beneficial? And for me, it's like there is a health benefit to having caffeine in your diet. So I brought
Mhm.
it back in, but I brought it back in a way where I'm not just like going to Starbucks every single day. In fact, like never again, like any of those kind of coffee shops like that. But I ended up grabbing this new coffee, and it's like the brand's called Strong Coffee. No sponsored whatsoever by this. But I decided to add back in a coffee that has like a bunch of other things in it, like MCT oil and
Mm.
all these different nutrients, all that stuff like that. So if I'm going to drink coffee, which still isn't every single day, but if I do drink it, I want it to be beneficial and not something like, just regular black coffee. If you're drinking that all day, it's just draining your adrenals. It's, causing more stress on your body than adding those things in that can help counteract some of those negative effects. So that is my
Coffee.
go-to coffee.
Yeah, I love it. I've been experimenting with adding some powdered mushrooms and
Yes.
cacao to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I went down that rabbit hole for a little bit too. And then at the end of the day, I was like, oh, you know what? I really enjoy a good coffee ritual, but then I just couldn't mask those flavors out. It started tasting too earthy. And I'm like, you know what? I can add in the earth somewhere else in my diet. I want to kind of have that yummy coffee
Yeah.
ritual.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, favorite combined meal, brunch or dinner? That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I automatically want to say brunch, because I feel like brunch, it's got that fun around it, and it has all of those yummy meals that you can kind of combine. Like you can still kind of have, like if I wanted that steak or fillet, you can kind of still make it
Yeah.
into a brunch menu. So I would say brunch.
All right. Sunrises or sunsets?
Oh my gosh, that is so tough. It's funny. I just was having this conversation with my fiance yesterday. I mean, we have this conversation every day because of where we live. We have a beautiful sunrise, but we can't really see the sunset. And we're looking at a new
Mm.
house right now. It has a beautiful sunset, but it doesn't have a sunrise. And we've been debating, like, we need to just find a house that can give us both. Because we are very much, I revolve my life truly like around sunrise and sunset. I'm very tapped in with my circadian rhythm. So it's really important to me. Um, Gosh, you got me stumped here, but I will say sunset for now, because I mean, sunrises are beautiful, but sunset, it is just so great at the end of a day to just watch that sun go down and have that moment of peace and reflection,
Mm.
and just, have that night sky come up with the stars. It's just such a beautiful transition. So sunset.
All right, I'll go with that one. All right, you got to get your mind right. You got something either weighing on you or you got a big decision coming up and you want clarity of thought. I'm sorry. Yeah, silence or music. What helps you get in that place?
I would have to say, well, my answer technically, what I actually do when I'm
Yeah.
in that place is I actually go meditate. mix of music and silence of my brain, really, to like let things flow in. So I don't know, is there a combination of both?
It's
Because I technically use sound, but I'm also in silence. So
yeah, I like it. So you go to meditation
I do.
with
Yeah.
sound and trying to quiet your mind.
Mhm. Yep,
That's
exactly.
good. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to know random stuff. So that's how
Ah,
these come up. So there's no right or wrong answers.
love it.
All right. Reading books or listening to audiobooks?
Listening to audiobooks. One, I can get through way more. Two, I have started again, like literally a couple weeks ago, started to try and read again at night. And it's just a habit. It's just, I feel like working out, going to the gym, I think reading is literally just a skill set and a habit you have to build and learn. So for me right now, audiobooks, because I do love to listen, and I feel like I personally, the way that I learn, retain more when I could hear something versus
Mm,
reading, unless it's like a really good book, or if it's something that's difficult to read, I feel like my mind starts wandering, and then I'm like, oh, well, I just have to reread that whole page now because I just totally went off somewhere else. So right now, audiobooks, but I am relearning and reteaching myself to try and read more every single night because I know that's a very powerful tool for the mind as well.
yeah, for sure. What like what kind of reading are you doing? Like if you had to pick a favorite book, what would you say?
Okay, so I was like addicted to like self-development, business books, all these sorts of things, a lot. And right now I'm actually reading two books. One, the one that I started reading is actually Elena Cardone's book, Building an Empire. So it's
Mhm.
more of a what's the word for it? Not autobiography, but just more of like, it's from her, it's her life, her perspective, but also has a little bit of teaching in it, which is cool. And then the audiobook that I'm listening to is called Biohack Like a Woman,
Mm,
which is like health related stuff, which is
yep.
just really cool. So two different things that are not business-y related. So
Yeah. Now sometimes it's good to get out of the space you
Mhm.
spend most of your time just to expand your horizons a bit. All right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you feeling warmed up, my friend?
I'm warm. I'm hot. The
I
lights
love
that I
it.
have on right now are hot, actually. So I'm really feeling it.
All right. I wanted to start with kind of going to your backstory where this started. You talked about 8 years ago having a moment, and I've seen some places where you described it even as like hitting a rock bottom.
Yeah.
Can you share with us kind of what got you to where you are today?
Yeah, yeah. So my rock bottom, and I have to preface this, like everyone's rock bottom is so different, right?
Yeah.
Like it's what your definition of what your like rock bottom is. And for me, it was in my mid-20s actually. And I was living a really fun, abundant life. I was, making really good money. I was working for myself. When I had finished college, I was actually supposed to go to med school, and I decided my senior year that was no longer the path for me. But at the same time, I had no idea what I was going to do because, my entire life, like that's what I was focused on, right? To
Mm,
go to school and be a doctor or whatever, wherever path that was going to take me. So that year of trying to just like figure it out, I started learning more about entrepreneurship, and I started down this path of being able to work for myself and make money. And this was through a couple different businesses that I ended up starting. One was a video production company that I started. I was also modeling and acting at the same time because I kind of started doing that in college and found to be really good at it. And I found it really fun and lucrative. So from there, for my 20s and during a time where entrepreneurship wasn't cool, like back then, I mean, that was a time where social media had just kind of started, right? So
yeah.
if you told someone you were an entrepreneur, like they were like, you're a fucking loser. Like, oh, and I don't know if but it's like, like, what are you doing with your life? Like sleeping on your mom's couch. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it wasn't cool like it is today. So during that whole time, I was making decent money for being an entrepreneur in my early 20s, never, ever taking a business class and just learning things on my own and through like YouTube and stuff like that. And from there, there was a lot more like bigger goals and visions that I had for myself. But at the same time, I didn't really have mentors or anything like that to help, like, not necessarily push me, but to kind of like help me grow. I was very much alone on this whole
Mm.
entire journey of what I was doing. So I felt like, you know what, if I could have the nice luxury condo in Scottsdale where I was living, if I could have already a BMW, you know, at this age without a technical job, if I could pay to go on trips and stuff like that, and, you know, have food and a roof over my head, like, cool, like I've made it. Like, I don't need to push myself anymore, like to go bigger, right? Or to go for these bigger goals and dreams. And along the way, even though my intuition was telling me like, go do the thing or go do this or
Mm.
go do that, which was just so outside of my comfort zone. Um, you know, that's when the universe, God, just kind of starts noticing those things, and I'm started ignoring a lot of the red flags. So one night, which was just typical in my lifestyle back then, I had a very work hard, play hard lifestyle. So on the weekends in the city that I lived in, it was just a whole like nightlife scene, right? Like you're going out clubbing, you have friends, all of that kind of stuff. And there was one night that I actually ended up getting arrested over something really stupid. And that was my big wake up call. And following that, just like from there, just like rock bottom of just a lot of shame and guilt over
Mm.
something that was just so, it was just so stupid. But at the same time, this stupid thing was the thing that served me to like wake up to be like, Sam, this isn't who you are. Like, get it together. You are here and you're meant for more. And you need to just figure that out. And at the same time, I was all like, well, I don't even know how to freaking do that. Like, how do I go out and create this life that I actually want and desire outside of this, what I've already built, but just at a more elevated level? And then from there, I really just focused on tapping into more like searching on YouTube instead of like how to make more money, how to build an online business or a brand and stuff like that. I'm starting to search, how do you change your life? You know, all these
Mm.
things. So from there, I learned more about, or for the first time, learned about manifestation, watching The Secret. Just literally, it's where I learned what we just talked about at the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
you are the creator of your reality. And from there, that's where I had that moment of, oh my gosh, like I'm the creator. Well, I'm going to go take action on those things that I really want to desire. And from there, got out of my rock bottom and followed this like method that I created for myself. Because at the same time, I was trying to not necessarily forget like this past life or
Yeah.
anything, but like keep me focused and help me move towards the life that I wanted to live. So that included a lot of journaling and prompts about where I envisioned myself, how I envisioned it to like feel, and all of these sorts of things that I want to like necessarily like quote unquote manifest, or the goals that I want to achieve. So from there, that was like me hitting my rock bottom to then creating the tools for myself to get
Sure.
myself.
Let me ask you something. How, because it's easy, right? If we have success, it's easy to just want to hold on to that success. And I don't want to say get complacent, but get stubborn on growth, right? Like this is already working. I don't need to change anything. What was it within you that was like, no, wait a second, I want more? Where did that come from?
The place that it came from, I want more. I'm not sure if back then in my 20s, it was like this goal and desire of wanting more. But I think for me, it was like that inner voice of fear almost, where it's like,
Oh,
yeah, you do want more, but I had such a big ego back then where I was all like, I was the best. I, you know, did all these things. Like truly, like it's so funny to like look back
yeah,
on. But I know that fire, that ego really drove me to my success of that I had in my mid-20s, but also crashed and burned me out. But for me, wanting more, I wanted more, but I was more at that place, in this place of fear of failure. Like, I'm already on my high horse now. I have all the things that people my age desire,
yeah,
right? Like truly, if I step out and do more and all these people watch me do it, and then what if I fail?
yeah,
I'm gonna like come back, even though I could still be at that same level that I started, but they would have seen me fail. So for me, it was that like failure because of what other people thought of me. Because back then it was just kind of one of those things where, you know, even on social media, I had grown a big presence with like my old brand that I had on there and everything. And it was just like, you know, I wasn't like, I guess mentally and emotionally developed, and I wasn't like healthy in that way that
Yeah.
as I am today, to like, I had that fear of what other people thought so much. So that's, I think, what it was in the beginning.
Right. Then there's also that fear of, and if I don't pursue more, this is what I'm going to be forever, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think at that moment of, you know, getting arrested and that that shame that kind of followed, even though like no one knew about it, like
Yeah.
it was the my own shame of like, oh my God, like you are not this girl. But you know, it was at this place of just it was just making that decision of
Mm.
like, no, like we're not doing this anymore. Like this is it. Like your time is up here. Like
Yeah.
go, you need to go figure something else out and make it better and change your life, like make your life better. Because if not, if you're gonna ignore this red flag of what just happened, like it was almost like forecasting what my future would probably look like, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
And that's how it felt. I was like, oh, like if I don't change this path right now,
Mm.
it's going to be the same thing over and over and over. You know, I don't know to what extent, but that's just how it felt. And I was like, oh, I got to cut this right now. I got to nip it in the butt and we got to go, kind
Yeah.
of a thing. That's how.
No, I agree. And it ties in kind of the next thing that I read that I found was interesting that you said, and that is that within your journal to manifest their desires, it's really their healing, getting clear, and purging what no longer serves them. I want to talk about that because I think sometimes, especially in the self-help market, the self-improvement world, there's this focus to move forward, right? And create this life of your dreams. But what I love here and what I've found very successful is a lot of times in order to move forward, we got to stop by going backwards and clearing our closet a little bit. Right. So talk to me about that, about how
100%.
getting to that healing and recognizing, hey, this isn't serving me. How do I move on past this? How'd that work for you? And how do we coach through that?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I just like to have everyone like think of this visual of like imagine all of the stuff, all of the crap that's happened in your life, and majority of it you don't even remember, but it's all buried in your subconscious mind. You carry
Yeah.
this regardless if you actually remember it or not. It's all deep down in there. But just imagine all of those things, things that you know have happened to you, especially more than let's talk about the negative side of life, bad things that have happened to you, bad things you've done, bad things that have been said to you, any sort of experiences, trauma, whether it's big T, little t, whatever, like all of these negative things, right? And say you take all of these things and you put them in some sort of backpack, right? Some sort of big, huge backpack, right? And if you don't take a look at those things, and if you don't heal them as far as, you know, release them, letting go, like how you do that, right? Is like you take it, it's like, oh, you either forgive the people that are associated, you forgive yourself, yeah, you know, in order to let go of those things that are no longer serving you, right? If you don't go through that process, you're literally just creating this backpack of crap for yourself that you're literally lugging around everywhere with you, right? And no matter how many times you want to change your life or pivot in a business or pivot in a career or what have you, or move or whatever, like if you don't deal with all of that stuff that you're carrying around, you're just carrying this backpack into the next place that you're going. And the
Yeah.
same things are going to start happening and popping up. And it's just such a cycle for ourselves, right? So I think that's why it's so important to, you know, whenever you don't even have to be in the process of changing your life, right? Or anything like that. But if there's something that you don't like, or if there's something that you don't like the way that you're reacting to things constantly, or how you're showing up, or anything like that, it's so important to do that. And we call it like that shadow work. It's called
Yeah.
shadow work because it's all the crap that we don't want to bring to light, that we keep buried in the dark, right? Like it's in that backpack that you're carrying, right? And going through it and healing it from a place of, you know, it doesn't even have to be that you have to, you know, forgive and forget certain things, right? A lot of those things, especially like big trauma things, that could be really hard to do. But just being able to acknowledge them and be like, and also take radical responsibility. I think this is a huge one. We
Yeah,
love to blame others for our circumstances. We love to blame others for things that have happened to us, but almost like taking that radical responsibility and being all like, oh, well, this was my role in this. I played this role in it because I just allowed to continue it to happen, or,
right.
different scenario, different reply on that, but taking that radical responsibility and then being able to just clear that stuff out. And some stuff takes longer than others, but at least having that awareness that that shit is there. You're not ashamed of it. You're not hiding from it, but just looking at it. What I like to do with my stuff is, I like to look at the version of Samantha that was in that situation,
Sure.
and I send her love. And I'm just like, oh girl, like you just did an effing, like you did the best you could with what you knew, with what you had. And I love you for that. And
Yeah.
also like we don't need to continue carrying this on. Like I've learned from the lesson. It's not going to repeat, or I'm going to notice the patterns if it starts coming up again, and I send her off with love, and that's it. And I think when you can start looking at your own experiences from that place, I think you start to create such a beautiful relationship with yourself, and it really transpires into those next events and parts of life that you are looking to expand upon and grow.
Yeah, no, I love it. I was chuckling because you referenced the backpack, and I've taught my kids this, and I share it in my classes. I call it ruck it, chuck it, fuck it, right? And like
Yes.
you put it in your backpack and you carry it around for a little bit, right? Because I think there is some good to carry it around because that means you're learning a lesson, right? So you have a big loss. Well, why did I lose? I carry around that loss, and so I figure out, okay, what do I need to change? Then you ruck it, and you take that rock out, whatever that moment is, you throw it as far as you can, get rid of it, then you just say fuck it and move on, right? Because you got a lesson.
I love that. I love that. So
Yeah.
good.
You want to know what's really off subject fun too is my mom loves this show, and she loves when guests say fuck it. She loves that.
Love it. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll drop sometimes in this episode. I am one that tends to drop F-bombs. So
That's all right. Um, let's go back to your example. I really like that. Talk to me about the importance of showing grace to yourself, right? And
Mm.
like you said, going back to young Samantha, say, sister, man, you did the best you could. And reality is, Samantha, if you young Samantha hadn't done this, I'm not here today. Is this version of me?
Yes, exactly.
How do we work through that grace to ourselves?
I think at the beginning it takes a good conscious practice, because it can be uncomfortable at first to even look at yourself in that way. But at the same time, I find it to be one of the easiest practices, because we are already so comfortable with like looking at others and like placing blame on others, right? So it's almost like you're creating this other part of yourself, not to blame, but you're already used to kind of doing that, right?
Yeah,
In your life. So to just literally look at that problem or situation as yourself. I don't even know how I can like kind of make it even be any easier, but just having that moment to be able to do that, I think allows you and gives you that grace. And it just
yeah,
takes, a moment. It doesn't have to be this big drawn out thing that goes on for days and days and weeks and weeks. I think there's power in just having that moment, because I feel like energetically and consciously you're able to just kind of like you acknowledge and kind of clear that energetic tie to it. So I feel
yeah,
like that's kind of the way.
yeah. And what I love about that is if you're willing to see yourself through a graceful lens and you're willing to say, man, Jerrod, I love you for what you did. I wouldn't do it again, but thank you for being there. You're also more likely to see others through a graceful lens and to really start to emit the energy that you want to attract to your life because now you're suddenly giving it off, right? You're not looking to be perfect. You're not looking to hide from mistakes. We're just looking to grow on this journey.
Yeah, yeah, it's having that compassion for yourself, right? Like we all want compassion for us, right? From others when we screw up, right? Like no one's perfect, right? So having that compassion for yourself, allowing that imperfection to be and not beat yourself up, because just think about it. Like if you made a mistake or did something wrong in your day-to-day life, right? Like how would you want others to treat you?
Mhm.
Right? Would you want them to just shut you out and forget about you, right? Bury you down
Right.
into, oblivion, right? Or would you rather than be like, you know what, let's talk about it. Like it's okay. Like let's figure out why this happened. Let's see what we could do so it doesn't happen again. What's the lesson here, right? It's like having that
Yeah.
conversation as you would with someone else, but just do it with yourself. It's a really powerful muscle to grow.
Yeah, no, it's critical, right? It's a critical stage in your development, moving past, like you said, whatever you've been backpacking around. So let me ask you this. How do I, if I decided that today I want to create a new Jerrod, I'm ready to move forward past who I've been, how do I come to terms of still staying authentic and maintaining my values while allowing myself to grow, right? And not having that guilt feeling of, oh my God, I'm growing. Like if, especially if my circle isn't growing, the people around me are not interested. How do I handle the kind of that guilt that sometimes comes when we want more?
Ooh, I would kind of first think about is like this would just be deeper questions, but I would first get clarity around like where is this guilt coming from? What are you afraid of if you change?
Mm,
Right? That would be the first question. Like what's and that's that what's holding you back? And that
right.
it's that guilt, right? So it's like, what is that guilt? Are you afraid you're going to outgrow your friends? Are you afraid they're not going to be friends with you anymore? Are you afraid your family's going to make fun of you for, trying
Sure.
these new, whether it's just daily habits of like, maybe your family doesn't work out and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to start going to the gym, right? And they're going to give you shit for it, right? Or something like that. So I think first is having that clarity around it, because those are also limiting beliefs. And even where we're starting right now, like, oh my gosh, that's all the stuff that holds people back
Yeah,
from
for
beginning
sure.
in the first place, literally, right? Like that's what it did for me. I
Right.
held back all this time. And what ended up happening, I ended up getting arrested over something completely stupid, right? Just completely not to do with business. But that was my wake up call because I was ignoring the red flags, right? Of that,
Yeah.
my gut feeling and intuition, where it was like, no, you were meant to go do more, right? So I think having that conversation with yourself. And at the same time, I think one of the funnest places to start alongside of that is to get really clear on what it is that you do want, like creating that vision. Because without us being able to just like visualize and see, if we can't see the vision of where we want to go and what we want to do,
Yeah.
you can't create, right? Because everything in our reality is created twice, once in the mind, and then once in our, and then the second time is in our actual physical reality. So we have to be able to create it here. So I think getting super clear, and that could be, the all aspects of life, whether it's like your business, career, your health, your relationships, your love
Yeah.
life, even material items, right? So all of those things of how you want to do it. And then from there, we go on to the action plan and everything. But yeah, I feel like most people get stuck with that first thing that you mentioned is
Yeah.
that guilt of, oh, like, what are people going to think? Or not even that guilt of, oh my God, what if this is successful? Now I'm going to have so many more responsibilities. People are going to want stuff from me, or, I'm going to have to be responsible for X, Y, and Z, that kind of stuff too. So it's if you start thinking about it from the beginning, like too deeply,
Yeah.
it get really messy and overwhelming. So I'm always just like, start with the fun part, which is like literally if you could dream up whatever this like reality that you want for yourself, like start there.
Yeah. No, I love it. Why do you have 90 days? Why is it a 90-day program, not a 1 year? Why did you kind of settle on that 90 days?
Yeah. So with the 90 days, and what I love about the 90 days is especially our whole reality revolves kind of around like quarters, right? Like
Yeah.
you have a business and life, we have seasons. It's all, in that 90-day period. So that's why I decided on 90 days. I felt like 30 days for a journaling process. It's way too short to like create and start a habit. But
Yeah.
within 90 days, and you can literally see such a, or you can tell how much of a difference it has made. Like, what have you actually accomplished? What are you still working on? What still needs to be done? That kind of a thing. What went well? What went bad? Those types of things, right? So 90 days gives you a long enough span where you can create the habit of the morning routine with the journal and also have enough information to reflect on what's been happening in your life those 90 days as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's a perfect balance. Just like you said, it's enough for data to make changes, but not so long that you can't stick through it, right? And that you get lost along the way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Samantha, when did you realize, like, okay, wait a second, if I've created this for myself, if I hit my rock bottom, if I'm moving on and I'm facing some of my past, I'm ready to move forward. When did you decide, like, wait a second, I can actually share this with the world and help them in their daily lives?
Actually, this was never a planned business or company, to be honest. But during COVID, when I was, so at that time, I had, over those years in my 20s, I had, built up my social media and done a lot of stuff in business. So I had turned into a online business coach. So during the pandemic, when the pandemic hit, I was running a class of students and I saw firsthand all the panic, and just even in
Mm,
my online community in general, right? People losing jobs, people losing income, really negative mindsets all around because of what was going on or what we didn't know was going on at the time, right? So there was just a lot of like chaos and uncertainty. So I just started literally just sharing my morning routine and the things I did to keep my mind right when shit was hitting the fan. This
yeah.
is just like in daily life, whenever, like ever since I hit my rock bottom, like those were, and that was what, 7 years prior, I was still using those same tools like
Yeah.
today. So I just started sharing those like, hey, this is, if you want to get your mind right, if you want to tune out the noise of what's going on, and stay focused on your business, all those sorts of things, this is what I do. Here's how I journal. Here's how I created the vision board. Here's the different meditations that I use, all these sorts of different things. And then slowly but surely, people were just like, oh my gosh, like, do you have a PDF download for this that I can like get all of the journal prompts and do all of these things? And I'm just like, no, like it never occurred to me to do that, nor did I
Yeah.
want to do that. And then I got asked enough where it was like, oh, wait, like my entrepreneurial like light bulb went off and I got this like download to be like, no, this isn't going to be another free PDF download that's going to get lost in someone's email inbox. It needs to become a physical product where people can actually hold it and read it. Because for me, I was just doing the same method, just in a blank journal notebook, but
Yeah.
I've been doing it for so many years. I knew automatically, how to write, what to write, all of that. And I'm like, wow, yeah, if I am going to teach this to someone, like it needs to have the structure, it needs to have it all printed out and written out. And so from there, I just had asked my community a little bit deeper, like, hey, like, is this something you would want to have
Yeah.
that would help you or for your morning routine or help you with goal setting, all those sorts of things? And I just got so much positive feedback where I'm just like, well, I guess it's time to learn how to manufacture products and build a physical product brand. So here we are. That was, what, 3.5, 4 years ago now. And yeah, now here we are today, 4 years
I
old.
love it.
It's I shut down all of my other companies. This is the only one that I focused on, and we're growing like crazy. And it's just been such an incredible growth journey with that.
Is there a specific feedback from somebody that you could share with us that reached back to you and said, "Man, Samantha, because of you, where you're like, okay, I've got to stick this, I've got to go harder here. I got to do more here because this is exactly why."
Sorry, it cut out for a second. You asked me if
If
a
you had a feedback from a person that participated that just reaffirmed you were on the right path and this is where you need to spend your time.
Oh yeah, from the very beginning. So the first month of kind of like having this idea of a journal, I created a beta test group of about 20 women, which I just did have like basically a rough kind of PDF download print up of like, hey, this is kind of like what's going to be in the journal. Just want you girls to use it. And all I need from you is just check in with me every Sunday and let me know your
Oh,
feedback. So throughout those 4 calls through that 1 month, the feedback was like incredible, from positive mindset changes. Had a girl try to manifest her like a boyfriend, which she had met and started dating during those 4 weeks. I had a girl that had started focusing on getting a promotion at work. So she had a financial result at the end. And then just other girls, it's just like, I'm just feeling so good, especially during this time of like all the stuff going on in the world. So that gave me enough proof to like, okay, we are going to definitely take this in. But honestly, it's just like every single day. And starting a physical product company business is not easy.
sure.
It's not easy whatsoever, especially if you're the one manufacturing it and shipping it and doing all those sorts of things. So there's been a lot of, gosh, stress. There've been so many days that I want to just, take my computer, shut everything down, throw it all away. Like truly, the last 3 years, like there's been so many different obstacles that we face, which is normal in business, but it's tough sometimes. And the only thing that truly kept me going, especially when it could have been so easy for me to turn it off and go back to what I was doing, was hearing and reading the testimonials and reviews from the women in the community. Like reading messages, like I read a couple the other day. It's like literally, it was just like this girl in our Instagram post. She's just like, your journal saved my life.
Mm,
Like just reading stuff like that, or, helping like those other girls that helped with their anxiety and depression, or help them meet the man of their life, or help them, gain financial success, or help them just get clarity on their purpose. There are so many
right.
people out there just walking around like zombies, like, I don't know what to do, but I know what I'm doing right now. I absolutely hate it, but I don't know how to change it, kind of a thing, right? So just reading a comment or testimonial like that, like frequently, like probably not daily, but definitely on a weekly basis, I get something like that. Like that's what keeps me going, like truly. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey on that from that perspective.
No, that's amazing. It's truly humbling when people take a moment to let you know the impact you shared with them.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say as we get close to wrapping up here, Samantha? What would you say are some of the top tips for people that are thinking like, okay, I want to take this next step in creating an active role in my life where I take ownership of my life? What would you say to them?
So 3 habits to change. Sorry, I cut out a little bit ago.
No, you're good.
Let's try to put it together.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you repeat the question? Because it
Oh,
did cut
yeah,
out a
yeah.
little bit, and I was
Eh,
trying.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, if you had, so you got somebody that's like, okay, I want to take active ownership of my life. I'm ready to go. What are like three things you would share for them to get started?
Love this question. So first thing is, honestly, I would get super freaking clear on the life that you actually want to have. And I
Mm,
always want to start there, because I feel like once you know exactly what it is that you want, you can figure out what it is, what you no longer like don't want in your life. So I always say start there. Next thing is, in order to change your life, you have to start feeling good. You
mm,
can't change your life or become a better person from a place of feeling bad about yourself, being in a bad mood all the time, being tired, being depressed, being anxious, like any of those lower level negative emotions. If you are constantly there, honestly, it's almost impossible to like automatically get up and out. So if you are there, or if just wanting to change your life, start incorporating things into your life that are going to lift your mood. So creating a habit, whether it is, I don't know, maybe it's just getting out of the house and walking in the sunshine, right? Raising your energy. Maybe it is creating a morning routine that includes meditation and journaling, something like that.
yeah.
Maybe it's, going to the gym. Maybe it's taking up or incorporating a new hobby that really brings you joy, something like that. So really adding more joy and happiness into your life, because the more often we are in joy and happiness, one, the easier it is to create. We get those ideas, and the more excited we are and the more willing we are to take action on things, in not just in order to change our lives, but in order to create something or change something. So maybe you want to change your life and you want to start a new business, or you want to get a new job, or you want to call in a new partner or something like that, right? Well, obviously, who you are today, right now, all the actions that you have taken make you that person that you are today. So, in order to change that person, right, we
Yeah.
need to change something about that day-to-day habit. So when you do change it, like as you're changing, you're literally turning and creating yourself into a whole new person. So day after day of doing that all compounds, and then all of a sudden you can look back from this day that you decided, like, I want to change my life, like, or I, want to create this dream and vision for myself, and you start taking action on it. Before you know it, you may not see the changes day to day, but
Right.
looking back after 90 days, you look back and you're like, oh, holy shit, like I have made like so much progress. Or maybe you've made a little bit of progress, but you notice the change.
Yeah.
So I think just like with incorporating all these little things, like basically anything you can do to start moving yourself towards that more higher vibrational, that more positive mindset, that taking radical responsibility for yourself, removing the blame from everyone else for your situation. And like, it's just like, picking yourself up and just like taking action and be like, nope, this is not me anymore, right? I am no longer
Yeah.
serving myself. We've done here. Time to build a new me, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I love it. And it's amazing what small changes, how much progress you'll make if you do them repeatedly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think sometimes we want to sit back and we think life is going to change when we make this big change. But it's the small changes done repeatedly to change your habits, right? Which then become rituals, which change behaviors.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. It's all about those small daily changes. And that's another one of my tips too that I always give is like, listening to this podcast, you may feel super inspired to do a whole lifestyle overhaul.
Right.
And I say, no, no, don't do that. Like pick like one little thing to add in or remove. Like whether it is maybe you're just like getting up earlier to see that beautiful sunrise, to get
Yeah.
you happy and excited about the day, right? Like start with that. Or maybe it is, hey, maybe 15 minutes today during your work day, you're going to go outside and go for a 15-minute walk just to like de-stress, get some fresh air, get some sunshine, those types of things. Like it's incorporating these small little habits one at a time. And then once you've mastered them, put in the next. Because the one thing that likes to happen to the brain is if we try to overhaul everything, sure, you could be excited about doing all of those things maybe for the first week, maybe the second week, but by the third week, your subconscious or your conscious and subconscious is feeling like, oh, like, no, let's go
Yeah.
back to comfort. Let's go back to comfort of what we know. Like this was fun for a minute, but no, like let's go back. And that's why a lot of people fail, especially with New Year's resolutions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's why people fail. They try to change too many things at one time.
Yeah, and I think it's also that accountability piece, right? Or identifying where I stumbled. If I add too many things at once and it doesn't work out, how do I know why it didn't work out? Which piece led to that?
Exactly. That's a great one. Mm-hmm.
Right? If I make one change and I have success, then I add another change and I have success. No, I love it. Samantha, where can our friends follow you and where can they come across the manuscripting journal to start their 90-day process?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram is usually kind of where I post all my lifey stuff, business behind the scenes. So Samantha Kozuch on Instagram. And then for the manuscripting journal, manuscripting.com and the manuscripting journal on Instagram.
Samantha, thank you so much for taking time to join us. It's been an honor to share your story with our community.
Thank you so much, Jerrod. This was so awesome.
Have a great day, my friend.